Long-haul truckers. What's the creepiest or most unexplained thing you've ever seen on the road at night?
This is my father's story. He wasn't a long-haul trucker, but rather an 18-year-old gas station attendant in the late 1970s. And without a certain truck driver, I probably wouldn't be here today. The gas station was open 24 hours, and my dad was the only one working the night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. if he remembers correctly. One night, a guy came in who immediately gave him the creeps. He seemed off, sketchy. He was wearing a tight jacket and pants, and it was obvious he had something hidden under the jacket. It was summer and warm, so the jacket didn't make sense. Later, it was confirmed that he was under the influence of something. A lot of truck drivers stopped at this station since it was the only one open 24 hours for a long stretch of the highway. There was also a big parking area where truckers could rest or take a break. That night, it was just my dad, the suspicious guy, and one trucker who happened to be there. My dad kind of knew him. He came by often enough for them to chat a bit. My dad asked the trucker if he'd hang around until the sketchy guy left. After pretending to look at the stocked shelves for a few minutes, while sneaking glances at my dad behind the counter, the guy eventually seemed frustrated, got into his blue car, and sped off. The trucker stayed a bit longer to keep my dad company until another couple of customers came in to grab a quick meal. For context, this was rural southeastern United States in the 1970s, basically the middle of nowhere. The only communication options were CB radio and a landline. My dad had only the landline at the store and no kind of protection or weapon. Hours later, after things had quieted down and he had mostly shaken off his nerves, another man suddenly pulled into the lot, fast. He jumped out of his car and sprinted into the station, yelling that he needed to use the phone. He didn't have a CB radio, nor had he found a phone at the other station down the road. He wasn't familiar with the area, and my dad's station was the first one he came across. He called 911 to report that he had just walked into a gas station 40 miles back, the next closest one, and found the attendant there, shot and killed. No one else was around. The only thing he noticed was a blue car speeding out of the lot as he arrived. Eventually, the police caught the man in the blue car. My dad confirmed it was the same sketchy guy from earlier that night. He was charged with murder and armed robbery. To the long-haul trucker who waited with my dad that night, thank you. You might never know it, but you probably saved his life. And for context, that guy in the blue car already had a record. He was either being sought by authorities or was on probation at the time. Edit. I'm writing this a couple of months later, but I recently talked with my dad and he clarified a few details. So anything that's been emphasized above reflects those updates. It's not much, but that's the full story.
I'm a truck driver in the UK. One night, I was driving through rural Scotland on a country lane when I suddenly started seeing flashing lights coming through the trees. Lights of all different colors were shining and casting some really eerie-looking shadows on the road. I'm not someone who believes in aliens or anything like that, but my first thought was UFOs. Safe to say, I hit the gas and got out of there fast. Found out the next day it was just a music event happening in a nearby field, but at the time, it definitely scared me.
Creepiest driving along I-40 and I-30 through Texas and Arkansas, I kept seeing what looked like animals or faces popping out of the bushes. But when I looked longer, there was nothing there. The highway had just been repaved, and there was hardly any traffic. I was completely exhausted, and it was pitch dark. Probably just highway hypnosis, but it was unsettling at the time. Paranormal. When I switched to local driving, my route ran near an Air Reserve base in Indiana, so I often saw planes and helicopters. One night around 2 a.m., while heading to pick up another load, I noticed a bright green light in the corner of my windshield. It was too low to be an aircraft. It moved slowly, then darted off, and I lost sight of it behind some trees as I drove by. Typical, I saw a UFO kind of moment. But honestly, I still think it was probably a helicopter or jet seen from just the right angle as it turned after takeoff. Jet pilots have broken the sound barrier over the town before, so seeing one flying oddly wasn't impossible. Just plain crazy driving south on I-75 in Ohio during winter, I saw a compact car, something like a Cobalt, getting on the on-ramp to merge onto I-75 north. The driver lost control, went sideways, dropped at least 6 feet off the ramp onto the interstate shoulder, landed on all 4 wheels, spun a full 360 degrees, and then just merged into traffic like nothing had happened. It completely blew my mind. The CB radio went wild for about 5 minutes. People yelling, "Did anyone else just see that?"
My 2 friends and I were driving from Laredo, TX to Baton Rouge, LA one night in my Ford van. It was around 2 a.m., and we were on this long, pitch-dark stretch of highway just outside Laredo. No towns, no lights, nothing for about 50 miles. I was in the right lane coming up behind a semi, so I pulled into the left lane to pass. As I was slowly overtaking the truck, I suddenly noticed in my peripheral vision that it swerved sharply toward the right shoulder. That's when I saw why. There was a person dressed completely in white. White clothes, white face, walking straight across the highway with their arms folded over their chest and their eyes closed. I swerved the wheel to the left and barely missed them. My passenger mirror came within inches. I can still picture their closed eyes in the glow of the headlights. It didn't even feel real, like something straight out of a nightmare.
I was 23 and my husband and I had just gotten married. Instead of jumping straight into a 9-to-5 after college, we thought driving as a team would be a fun adventure. One night, I was in Arizona on a long, empty stretch of highway around 4 a.m. when a guy pulled up beside me waving his CB radio. I usually kept mine off. Listening to trucker chatter got annoying after a while. I finally turned it on, and he told me I had a blown tire. I thanked him and said I'd check it at the next truck stop, but he didn't let up. He kept insisting I pull over right then to check it, for over 40 miles. When I finally reached the next town and pulled into a truck stop, I got out and checked everything. No blown tires, nothing wrong at all. To this day, I have no idea what that man's intentions were, but I'm so glad I trusted my instincts and didn't stop.
My stepdad is a truck driver, and when I asked him this question, he gave me 3 stories. First, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, a guy drove by his truck doing something totally inappropriate, so my stepdad threw his water bottle at him. Second, while driving near Oregon around 2 a.m., he was the only one on the freeway when something large and pale swooped down just a few yards in front of his truck, then disappeared back into the trees. And third, while driving about 70 Meteor, a loose tire rolled right in front of him, crossed the median, and nearly hit another car.
My dad has a bunch of stories from his years hauling logs in Idaho and driving trucks through Utah and Nevada, but my favorite one actually happened when he was just in his pickup, driving through Utah one night. He said there was this strange light out in the desert, keeping pace with his truck on a moonless night. It stayed with him for about a minute before it suddenly vanished. And at that exact moment, his truck turned off. He coasted to a stop, restarted the engine, and made it to the next diner. When he told the folks there what happened, they just shrugged and said it was a common occurrence in that area. The creepiest story, though, was from when he was hauling logs in Idaho, coming down from near Coeur d'Alene on a snowy winter night. He was putting on chains before heading down a steep grade when he suddenly felt every hair on his body stand up, like something was watching him. Halfway down the mountain switchbacks, he saw a massive figure standing on a 20-foot embankment. As he got closer, it jumped down, and its shoulders were level with the cab of his truck. Then, in a single bound, it leaped across to the other side of the road and disappeared into the trees. At the time, he thought it might have been a Sasquatch. Now, he says he thinks it was something darker, maybe a demon trying to make him crash. Either way, he didn't stop again until he was miles away from that mountain.
What's been your worst experience on the road? Leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.